Hey, good morning. Welcome to Breakthrough Walls. I'm Ken Walls and I'm your host. And man, I'm still sweating from my workout this morning. So listen, I've got a really good friend of mine on the show today. This guy has, I know his story. And I'm telling you, this dude has a story that will blow your mind. He has reached some unbelievable levels of success. And I'll even let him tell you how old he is because that's probably the most mind blowing for where he's gotten to. So I want to welcome my good friend, Justin Jarek, to the show. Justin, welcome to the show, brother.
Hey, what's up? Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Dude,
First, can't
likewise.
ask how old I
I,
apologize.
I said likewise. I appreciate it.
So, I am 28 years old. Live about an hour south of Florida.
Yeah. About what?
About an hour south of Florida. About an hour south of Orlando.
I was like, oh, you live in the Caribbean. Cool.
Yeah, right?
Nice, dude.
Yeah.
So, Justin's 28 years old, but let's not start there. Let's start with, this show is literally about you sharing your story in hopes of helping others have a breakthrough in life. And
Absolutely.
and so let's start with telling everybody where you were born and raised.
Perfect. I was born in Massachusetts and I was raised in New Hampshire in a small town called Milford, New Hampshire.
Okay, well, thank you for being on. I appreciate it. So you were raised now. Is that where you like went to school? You went to elementary, middle school, all that in that area?
Oh yeah, I pretty much grew up in Milford, New Hampshire. I went to all my grade school. I went to high school as well. I went to a little bit of college in a town called Nashua, New Hampshire, right outside of Manchester. If anyone's familiar with that, any of my friends back home.
Okay. So Andrew says he lives in Cuba. I'm just starting to see the the comments. So 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 growing up in Massachusetts in the area that you grew up, I mean, what was it like for you growing up? Was were you born into a very rich family and life's always been easy?
I'm glad you brought it up like that. That was perfect. It was actually quite the opposite. I grew up. Looking forward, I would like to think that my childhood shaped me to who I am today. But as a child, it was a little bit tough. It was a little rough. It was not your typical childhood raising, that's for sure.
What's that mean? What's a typical childhood raising?
I guess that's a good point, right? What's typical? No,
Yeah,
I lived a bit of a tough childhood. Man, it was a lot of struggle for sure, without a doubt.
yeah.
Um, yeah, tough childhood. But looking forward, obviously take that looking at it in a positive kind of way, I guess.
It doesn't sound like you want to expand on tough childhood thing. So and I get it, but like for people who are currently stuck, I grew up in a very unbelievably tough environment as a kid. Very poor, very abusive household. A lot of stuff going on, man. Drugs, alcohol, all kinds of stuff, and so I've tried to help a lot of people that get stuck there, and I'd love for you to, just what are some of the things that made your childhood tough? You don't have to go into detail, but what made it so tough? Like when you say that, it's like, well, I had to walk an extra block to school. Like, what's that mean?
In case anyone's wondering, this is like a masterpiece you're trying to crack.
Like,
Uh,
dude, you're like you keep everything so close to the vest. You're tighter than a bullfrog's butt, man. Like,
has anyone ever played the escape room?
right,
Uh,
right,
but I lived it was an abusive childhood.
yeah,
My parents weren't around as much as I would like to have them have been.
yeah,
Um, I never really had anyone to give me much discipline growing up. So I kind of did whatever I wanted. I was extremely reckless. I was got into, drugs, a lot of drinking. Um, Man, like I said, there wasn't much discipline, which ultimately kind of led to all kinds of other crazy things.
Yeah. So you got out of high school. You went through a lot of craziness as a kid. Um,
Yeah, oh yeah,
probably self-inflicted a lot.
sure. There was a lot, yeah, like you said, a lot of craziness. A lot of it was self-inflicted. I was in grade school all the way up to high school and a little bit of college that I had attended. I was always the class clown, always unfortunately, always found myself in trouble, it seemed like,
Yeah.
um, for sure. A lot of fights, a lot of things that, I'm not proud of, as you guys can see. I'm a little reluctant to say just because I don't want people to see that as I am now.
Just a little. Just a little. So, so you went through
I
some.
hope everyone is familiar with an onion. You peel all those layers back.
Yes, that's right. So you went through all this stuff, man, and you end up that it's impressive that you went to any college, like.
Yeah, I gotta tell you something. And like Ken said, I've been talking to Ken for a long time, and he has guided me in so many great directions. And once I had got out of high school, and I don't think I've ever told anyone this besides my immediate family knows this about me. It's pretty interesting. So I guess I'll tell you the first time too.
Okay.
This is
Oh,
crazy.
you've been holding back on
I've been
me.
holding back. I
Wow.
bet none of you guys can imagine.
Okay, let's roll. Let's do this.
All right, so let's hear it. So this is crazy. So when I got out of high school, I had such a bad GPA, and I'm not kidding you guys when I tell you this. I had such a bad GPA when I got out of high school. Like I told you guys, I didn't really have much discipline. I didn't have anyone kind of reinforcing that I needed to do my homework, that I have a future that I have to look forward to. So so when I had got out of high school, and it had been about a month before I was deciding whether I was going to go to college or not. The obvious answer was I was not going to because I didn't like school. I didn't like anything about it besides I kind of did some sports. But the one craziest thing is I sent all these letters out to everyone. And I don't remember what my GPA was. I want to say it was like less than 1%. I don't even want to tell you that, but I think it was something crazy low. I had sent all these letters off to all these colleges, and I got denied from every single college, right?
Well, I
So
think if it was less than one, you wouldn't have graduated high school.
it was pretty bad. I don't know
I'm
what it was.
sure.
I'll have to reflect, and I'll have to look. But it was pretty rough.
Yeah, that's all
I
right.
think if it was higher than one, that's because I took like cooking, gym, recess.
Yeah, right. So
But
you sent out a bunch of letters
I sent out a bunch of letters. I got denied from everyone.
to
So
to colleges.
yes, I got
Okay.
turned down away from everyone. Everyone
Yeah.
told me that because of my GPA, I was turned down. I was turned down from every school I had applied to. Luckily enough, it was funny. My mom had been going to this college, so I had written up this big. It was about 10-page essay of why they should reconsider me for college, and I wrote this big essay up. And I've always been a fairly good writer, even though I haven't dedicated my time to that.
Right.
But I've always been a fairly good writer, so I wrote this 10-page essay up on why they should have accepted me. And I had met with the dean, and they actually turned it around, believe it or not. They said that they were going to accept me. So I had gone to school there for about a year, and again, I was a little hesitant to tell you guys, but I didn't take school as seriously, which I'm sure you can imagine. In college, I did quite the same.
Yeah.
I continued partying, unfortunately, like crazy, and I had got kicked out of college because I got alcohol poisoning, unfortunately. So
Oh wow.
another
Yikes.
another thing that I'm not so proud about, but ultimately that has shaped me to who I am today.
Wow, dude. So you got kicked out of college for getting alcohol poisoning. By the way, your amazing wife is on the stream right now, and she just said that you are an amazing cook. Oh no, that you are the best cook. And you might have the best laugh, I think.
I think so. If you don't laugh when I laugh, you need a sense of humor.
Yeah. You got a great laugh.
Oh
So you got kicked out of college for getting alcohol poisoning. So they didn't recommend any, like they didn't say, hey, you should go to an AA meeting or something. They
It
just
was
threw
many
you
things.
out.
It was many things. I had got reprimanded quite a few times, but that ultimately was the deciding factor, I guess you would say.
Wow.
Oh
So,
yeah.
so you got kicked out of college
I had
and,
gone for
and,
just I had gone for just a couple months my first semester of college, and everyone in my family is in the car business. And I actually was going while I was in school. I was actually in the car business as well. I started my first job selling cars at Best Ford in Nashua, New Hampshire.
okay.
So so but however, after that, I started selling cars. Full, I guess you could say, I took it more as a job than anything. But that's when my really automotive career really stepped forward or kicked off.
So you started selling cars in college.
Yeah. hmm
How'd you do?
Not so great. Not so great at first. My mind was everywhere else instead of where it should have been.
Well, where,
You know,
what's that mean? I don't, what's
well,
that?
I preach this every day in the
Yeah.
automotive industry, but you can either look at it as a job or a career.
Right.
And back then, I treated it as if it was a job, a 9 to 5 job, and I didn't take it as seriously as I should have.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So, so you didn't do well at first.
hmm
And you ended up getting kicked out of college because of alcohol poisoning. Um, and then you went full time into the car business selling cars. Now you say that your whole family is in the car business. What's that mean? Like they all sell cars, everybody, or?
Um, some of my cousins sell cars. Some of my cousins are in finance. Some are sales managers, and mostly, I have four uncles that are also in management in the car business.
Okay.
hmm
Wow.
Oh yeah.
So it's kind of in your blood.
Oh yeah, for many years. And then I have uncles up north, quite a few family members that are in the car business.
Wow.
And I've always seen them driving nice cars, nice homes, and obviously, most people look to that as inspiration, I guess.
Yeah, sure. So you decided to go full time into the car business, and like, did you experience like massive success after you got booted out of college,
Oh
or?
no, definitely not. The one thing that changed me the most was after I had got out of college and I kind of had taken the car business. I was kind of in the car business full time, and I had been starting to take it seriously. I had met my wife, luckily enough, and when I met my wife, it changed everything. So she's a lot more mature than I was at the time, and quite a bit now as well. um, she she was
I've
very
talked to her. I agree.
she was very structured, very family oriented,
Yeah,
very disciplined. So completely and totally different than what I was used to.
sure.
So once I had met my wife, I was selling cars, and then that kind of was the biggest thing that ultimately kind of started the snowball effect of seeing the success that I wanted.
So let's talk about that for a minute. You said it started the success that you wanted.
hmm
Did you really know what you wanted? I mean, how old were you then? 21,
I
20,
was 19, 20,
19?
yeah,
You didn't
20.
know what you wanted, dude.
Well, what I wanted, I see nice cars, nice houses, so in
Right?
that aspect,
You wanted the nice things.
yeah,
Yeah.
materialistic things.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sure your wife didn't mind that either. So,
She liked
so, okay, so you started and so when you say you started experiencing success, did you hit like the Frank Graniti levels?
I wouldn't say quite like him. He's kind of like a savant, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
But in having my childhood the way it was,
Sure.
and being told that I was going to be nothing my whole childhood, um, seeing that I had a little bit of a bank account, seeing that I was driving a nice car when I didn't have a car to begin with. So that to me, it was in my eyes starting to see success because now at that point I had financed a vehicle which with my help of only myself, I had finally got a place of my own. So that even though it's not success on a I sell 100 or 150 cars, it was a slow step to success.
Right. Right. So you started doing well, very well. It sounds like you got a Porsche 911 turbo.
Not quite. I had got like a 10-year-old Audi that I was financing a long time ago when I first, and I thought I was like the best person ever, right? I got an Audi, man. That's so awesome.
Dude, those are nice, actually.
They're not bad.
Yeah.
If you knew which one I was driving, you probably wouldn't think, but
Yeah. Well, hey, when you're 19, 20 years old, man, like, come on, beats an
yeah.
old rust bucket
Yeah.
Pinto. Well, you don't
But
even know what a
when
Pinto
we had
is.
when my wife and I had moved down to Florida, we had moved down here, and like I said, at this point I had a car that was fairly nice, I would say. But when we moved down, we didn't move down with anything but really our clothes. I mean, we pretty much just drove down with no furniture really. We didn't really have a plan to go. We didn't. It's so funny. We were talking about this the other day. We didn't even. So when I met my wife, I gotta touch on that because it's pretty funny. When I met her, I had this Jetta. It had like 250,000 miles
Oh my
with
God.
the front bumper was hanging off, but it had flannel on the inside.
Oh my God, that's
It's kind
funny,
of funny.
dude.
But when we moved down, we've really accumulated so much stuff. It truly is amazing for me, and just to think that I haven't even scratched the surface of where I'm going to be is just even more amazing. But when we had moved down, we didn't even know where we were moving. Truthfully, we didn't have any plans where we were going, what apartments we were going to, what house. We kind of just moved down and just winged it. We hoped for the best.
But wait. So you're both from Massachusetts
We're both from New Hampshire.
or New Hampshire?
Yep.
Wait, I thought you said Massachusetts.
We were actually both born in Methuen, Mass, but we were raised in New Hampshire.
Got it. Okay. Andrew, that's funny. So, why did you all of a sudden, both of you, obviously young as heck,
Yep.
and you just like decided to hell with this New Hampshire, Massachusetts stuff. Let's move to Florida. Like, just would you throw a dart at a map? What was it?
Well, my uncle actually had been a general manager of a Ford store down here,
Ah,
and I was working at Ford up north, and she kind of was like, she didn't like being up there, and we didn't really have anything tying us down, so we kind of talked about it a little bit. And if there was a time that we were going to move, it was going to be then when we didn't really have much to take with us. So she always wanted to go, and so we just decided to move.
wow.
Yeah, we got in our car one week and just started driving.
In the you got in the Jetta?
This at the time I was driving an Audi.
Oh, you had the Audi.
I had traded in the Jetta because it
Yeah.
had broke down.
Did they give you anything for it? I'm
I
just
don't, I
kidding.
don't even. I don't think so.
Probably $100. So
Yeah.
I feel sorry for you trade in. So
Yeah.
so you moved to Florida with not much at all.
Definitely not.
Did you? I mean, that's exciting though, as young kids.
Yeah, absolutely. You think that, when you're up north, everyone always wants to move to Florida just because, you see palm trees and beaches.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it
Yeah.
was awesome. I mean, we both look forward to it and we both wanted to move, so we moved.
Nice, dude.
Yeah.
So you moved to Florida. You get a job at the Ford store.
Yep. I had got a job at now Kelly Ford.
Okay.
Hmm and I
And
started selling cars there.
how'd you do?
I did okay. Kind of going back from where I was, I was doing okay, but I was still at the point where I was going into work each day with not the right mindset. I was going into work thinking that, this is a job, not taking it as serious. I knew I had wanted to do it, but I didn't quite know, how to take it as a career, I guess you would say.
Sure.
But
Sure.
we had got to a point when my wife and I were in a really bad point. We didn't really have much. I never forget this. And again, we were just talking about it. And we always reflect because you always want to be grateful for
Yeah.
the things you have today. And I'm a pretty big believer on that. Um, but we had got to a point where we weren't making really much money, and I was taking it as a job. And we weren't able to pay our rent and stuff. And I never forget this, and it's probably one of the best things every year during Christmas. We back then when we didn't have as much money, my wife was always very creative, very artsy, I guess you could say. And we had gone to the Dollar Tree and we made Christmas ornaments out of these dollar ornaments that they had like a box of six. And, we colored them with glue and glitter. And, that was probably some of the best memories because, just because, now, you look and you have so much stuff. But, back then it's so nice. It's nice to not to have to worry about all the materialistic things that you can appreciate, the bare bones minimum, which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
But
It's normally the simple things in life that are the fondest memories.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But Christmas has always been fairly important to me and fairly big because that one Christmas that we didn't have much, we were struggling to pay everything that we had, and my wife had to sell her children's jewelry, her childhood jewelry, to try to pay our rent and get for presents. So for me, that was probably the biggest thing that struck this being a job to a career. That was like, I don't know if any of you ever got hit by one of those balls that swing, but that's what it felt like to me.
Wow. So what you're saying is you the pain became so unbearable that you finally made a decision.
Oh yeah, that was probably out of everything that had happened. I met my wife, and that was probably the biggest. But if you look at the second biggest thing that I would feel where I've taken my life I looked at it like in a glass ball. Like I was like, oh my God, I need to turn things around. Was probably that where you're at the point when you don't have any money. It was funny. We were. I always think about this. We had got juice, and we'd always mix like water and juice because we didn't want to keep drinking water, but we didn't want to always be drinking water, but we wanted to have different varieties.
Right.
It's to tell you how little money we have. It was truly, I couldn't even stress to you.
So and this is while you're selling cars at the Ford store in Florida.
Yep.
And so you weren't selling many cars. It doesn't sound like.
I wasn't selling many cars. I purely was taking it as a job, not a career.
So you were, and it wasn't a lack of talent. It was a lack of focus, a lack of taking it serious.
Without a doubt, there's zero lack of talent. It was purely mindset. It was purely thinking that I could do something when I couldn't, or do something when I could.
Right.
That's really it.
Right. And so eventually, after the pain of all that being brokenness and everything else, eventually you decided, all right, you know what? Screw this crap. I'm taking this job serious. It's a career now, and I'm gonna make some things happen here.
Yep, absolutely.
So what happened next?
So I had a couple months where I did fairly good, or okay. When you bring up Frank, I guess fairly good is an understatement. However, I was selling at this point. I quickly, once that happened, it was like a massive change for me. Like unbelievable. It's like you hit the lottery, and that's how big of a change it was for me. So my mindset has completely and totally flipped. I had now taken this job that I was going to every day and took it to a career where I was like, it's either I go in, I sell a car, or I'm not leaving. I'm not gonna eat unless I frickin' sell a car. So when I went into it like that, where I wasn't gonna let anything stop me, that's when everything changed. I mean everything. So I had been selling cars for a little bit, and I was told that they were gonna send me to finance school. I was now at Palm Bay Ford. I had been selling cars, and I was selling 20, 25 cars a month or so, doing fairly well. A lot of repeat business, a lot of referrals, because I do take great care of my customers. They have been telling me that I was going to go to finance school. This is pretty interesting how this worked. So, sorry, I apologize.
For what?
I was looking at my phone. I apologize. So, it was amazing. So I was selling cars, and they told me I was going to go to finance school, and I really wanted to get in finance. So I had been going in on all my days off, listening to the guys in finance, and I knew it was important that I had to go to finance school. And they kept telling me, yeah, pushing me off. Yeah, you're going to sell cars. But typically speaking, in the automotive industry, it seems like they never want to promote someone who's already doing well, it seems like, because they're taking a top salesman and they're ultimately going to put him in management. They think in their heads that, that's going to limit you, or you're going to sell less cars, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
So I noticed that there was a guy that had kept going out. He was like a auditor for finance. And I had talked to him, and I'm like, hey, I really want to get – no one wanted me getting into finance, but I was freaking determined. I was like, hell is going to freeze before I freaking don't get into finance.
Right.
I had this mindset, like I told you. This was job time. This wasn't job time. Job time was a year ago. It's career time. So I knew I had to make moves because I knew I wanted to get ahead.
Right.
So I had been selling cars. I was determined to get into finance because I knew ultimately that would make me a better desk guy, a better general sales manager, GM, and so on.
Right.
They were doing everything they could not to put me into finance. So I had talked to this guy. He had gone out to his car, and I'm like, hey, man, I really want to get into finance, right? And he's like, well, you got to get it okayed with you got to get 3 referrals, the finance director, the GSM, and a general manager. I knew for a fact the general manager, he would definitely, he loved me. He's a great guy. The GSM didn't want me going into finance. The finance director definitely didn't want me going into finance. So I don't necessarily want to put it out here, but I'm going to say it.
Yeah, I wouldn't call them out. I would.
So I was determined. So the GSM, I sat in front of them all day. I'm like, listen, I'm not going to go sell a car until you write me this letter saying that you're going to let me in. So, and then I talked them all into doing it, and they all gave me a letter of recommendation, which was nice. And they said they were going to pay for it. They didn't end up paying for it. So I said, well, I'm still going. So I paid for everything. So it was pretty cool. That again was a big determining factor.
So you got into finance?
Yep. After I had gone to finance, after I went to finance school, I had got into finance.
At the same dealership?
Yep, same dealership, Palm Bay Ford at this time.
Okay. And how did that go for you?
It went good. Finance. It's funny though, and I talk about this all the time. And some of the great guys that you kind of talk to and personally and on a great level, everything is all about mindset. It's so funny because in finance, I had been thinking that $1,200, $1,300, $1,400 a car was like amazing, right? Like I'm thinking $1,400 a car 7, 8, 9 years ago, whenever it was, was great. So every month I had been consistently selling. I had consistently been running about $1,400 a car or so, right?
Yeah.
So I had been talking to people, and the guy's like, well, if you're really good, you'll be at $1,800. So I'm like, so I've always been a big goal setter. Goals have been massive for me. And in finance, it's so funny because I kept my original sheet where I had written goals down with a plan and how I was going to execute it. And I wanted to be at $2,000 a car with, X amount for warranty, penetration, maintenance, and gap, and product penetration, all that stuff. But again, this was another big thing from job to career. When I realized that $1,400 was just average, and 2000, 1800, 2000 was good, I was trying to figure out how I was going to get to 2500. So for many years after that, I always was between 2 grand and 2500 every single month religiously.
Wow.
So, and in finance, that's fairly good.
So I think again, there's a lot of people that'll watch this or that are watching it that are not in the car business, so they can't relate to any of that, including me. But you know, I want to point out something that I think everybody can relate to, and if they can't, they need to, and that is something that you said that you've done, and I don't know how long I don't know when you started, but you said I wrote everything out religiously, all of my goals and what I wanted to hit and the targets I wanted to hit and how I was going to get there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I had my whole, and now I don't do it as much as detailed, which I'm glad we're doing this because it's now making me reflect. But
Yeah.
but I mean, I was down when I was in finance. I was down to the hour what I was doing. If you knew, I mean, I could take this sheet out and you could know from 9 to 10 I was training. From 10 to 11 I was on the phone with the banks. From 11 to 12 I was doing something else. I mean, I was massively detailed.
So you had your goals, but you also had your targets. You had your day planned out every day. You knew exactly what you were doing every single day.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
That is so crucially important.
Oh yeah, I mean down to the hour. I'm telling you, I knew exactly what I was doing. You didn't even have to know me. If you had this sheet, you knew what I was doing.
Yeah.
And so that ultimately was what helped me, get to that, X amount per car or whatever.
Right. So you did finance at this Ford dealership.
Once I was in finance, I became the director shortly after.
How old were you when that happened?
I was 20. When I was a director, I was 24 years old, I believe.
Director of finance at a car dealership at 24 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any other 24-year-olds that are directors of finance at car dealerships?
I haven't heard of one, but that doesn't mean they're not around there. And if they are, I love it.
That's incredible. Like most, in today's world, I read something recently that the average the average millennial lives with their parents until they're like 25 or something now, or something. I don't know.
That's amazing because you think if that's the average, I mean, oh my gosh, that's unbelievable. No one should be striving for average, that's for sure.
No, I know, but dude, you're 20. I mean, here you are 24 years old and you're the freaking director of finance, meaning there's other F&I people working under you, right?
Oh yeah, 3.
You had 3. You had 3 were they all like 20, 21, 22?
No, they were like in the 30s, 40s, 50s.
Dude, that is... Andrew just said, Justin is actually in his mom's basement currently.
Yeah.
Wow. So 24 years old, and you're the freaking director of finance at a car dealership. And for those of you that are not in the car business, and I'm not, but I know a little bit about F&I income. And I know an F&I guy here locally in Columbus, Ohio, a friend of mine that makes about $350, $400 a year as an F&I. So there's a lot of great money for F&I people. I would imagine the F&I directors do even a little bit better. I would imagine. I'm making that up because I don't know.
The one biggest thing, though, and I don't mean to go back, but the one biggest thing that I preach, and if you know me on a personal level, you know that I treat every person. The problem is that you get with the younger guys, it seems like, is when you get into management, everything switches. Like people automatically feel entitled. People stop doing things that they did before they got into management. And if you know me personally or have ever worked with me, there is not anything in this entire world that I wouldn't do. I do everything. If I'm going to ask you to do something, I would do it 100 times over if I wasn't able to do it at that second. And that's a fact. I treat everyone as if I would want to be treated every day, no matter what position I've ever held. I've always done that. I've always made sure I've taken great care of people and made them feel special, because if they buy them from me, they are special, and I want people to understand that.
I think that that's something else that's incredibly important is you're willing to roll up your sleeves and get in there and do whatever needs to be done. Um,
Absolutely.
that's such a key to success. So you went in, you were the finance director. How long did you do that? I mean, now we're only talking a 4 year period between then and now. So like how long did you do finance directing?
Uh, I was I was before they made me like the official title as a finance director, because before that I've done all the duties on the description, but actually getting paid for it was probably 2 years, I would say.
Wow.
2 years or so.
What happened after the finance director thing?
Um, Again, a crazy thing happened. So I had this was again another turn. I've constantly had things that seemed as if they would put me on my back. However, I've always moved forward from whatever I've ever done. Any kind of obstacle, I've hurdled as if it was not even there. So I got to tell you a quick story just so you can kind of understand. The GSM there at the time, I was had a great relationship. He's known my family for a very long time. He's a great guy, very knowledgeable, um, very good guy. Knows the car business in and out. Massively, he's huge in the car business around here. We kind of had butted heads a little bit. We didn't really see eye to eye with a few certain things, just to kind of keep it, I guess you could say, on a nicer scale. I had just bought my house right now. It was probably again one of the things that made me even stronger and even more determined than I've ever been. One of those kind of obstacles, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
I had just bought my house, and I had gone into I had overspent a little, maybe not overspent, but I had got my mortgage and a big house, and we had a hurricane shortly after. And I got back from the hurricane, and I walked in, I'll never forget this. I walked into the store, and everything had been perfect. I mean, I have never had anything, like no inclination, no nothing. And I walk in, and they had let me go like a week after I had just bought my house. It was
Whoa.
it was amazing.
They
Yeah.
let you go as director of finance?
They let me go as the director of finance.
What they think you caused the hurricane or something? I mean, what was that all about? Was it not going well?
No, I mean it was going great. However, I believe that the GSM was probably fearing that I was gonna maybe threatened by me, that I was always the one that was doing the right thing. I was always making sure that everyone was being taken care of. I was properly motivating people. I was always training people. I've always done that, because I'm a pretty big believer. I'm a massive believer. You want to take care of the people around you, and you also want to train them. You want to people. If you were interested in selling more cars, man, I would train you for everything I know. If you want to get into finance, I'll train you for finance. So
Right.
I want to surround myself around people better than me.
Right.
So
Right.
that maybe wasn't the case.
So you think that the GSM was threatened by you? Maybe.
Oh, 100%,
Really?
without a doubt,
I love it, man.
for
That's
sure.
awesome. And so he fired you. I've been there, man. That's awesome. I love that. I love
the
that.
Our general manager had been going around him and asking me about certain questions. So I guess looking back, playing it into my head, I mean, I guess I see it now, but at the time, I mean, I was at the top. I mean, our department had never been cleaner.
Yeah.
Our contracts in transit were never better. Our numbers were never better. I mean, we were just at the all-time high. So
So
it's a,
so you
it's unfortunate, but it was, looking back, it was by far, hands down, the best thing that ever happened to me. One of the best things that ever happened to me, for sure.
So what happened after that? You get fired for insubordination. I'm kidding. No. So
So I had
you get let go.
this was
And
the worst, and to tell you a little bit more about my story.
well, hold on. I have a question because you said after I got back from the hurricane. What's that mean? Like you went to the hurricane or something? What?
No, so there was a hurricane, and where I live, you evacuate. You
Oh.
evacuate. Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. See
So my
that
house.
I'm not a Florida dweller. So,
So my house is all boarded up, right? I'll never
yeah.
forget this. This is the worst. So it's all boarded up, and my wife's parents come down to help move us in, right?
Yeah.
We get boards up, right? I go to work like one of the first days. I come home at 11 o'clock to
Oh.
my. Oh yeah, it was terrible.
Oh,
So my
that's
wife's sitting there crying on the couch. What are we gonna do? And I promise you, I hope all you guys ask her. I said this is the best thing that could have ever happened to us. I promise you. I said it over and over again. I was so massively confident that this was the best thing that ever happened to me.
yeah.
I mean, I was like, you get that feeling, that fire. I was like, I am so determined, and that's what happened.
Yeah. Well, I mean when your mortgage is only $800 a month, dude, it's like
Or
you can
five,
handle that. Huh?
or 5,000.
Right. Right.
I don't know.
So like so you went to oh our buddy Aggie Hall's on here. I just saw her. Hey Aggie. Um
Hey, what's up?
so 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 you went to or you so you lost your job. What happened next? Where'd you go from there?
Well, first I had been getting calls from all the reps. Hey, what the heck happened? Like everyone was in shock
Yeah,
because
I'm
you
sure.
would never in a million years think that this would happen. Like it's so funny, but you say, things are happen for a reason, but you don't realize it until it happens. But I was so I couldn't believe it, but yet I was so happy on the inside. Like it was the weirdest feeling in it. And if you've never had this feeling, it's hard to describe, but it was like a feeling like, oh my, like the 10 elephants are now off my shoulders. Like I'm like, all right, now I can regain my, even though I was on top of what seemed like the universe,
Yeah.
making great money, making a finance director at a very young age, leading a couple great guys, running ultimately our whole store. I mean, that was amazing. However, after that, when it happened, it was even just that much more amazing. When I had let go and I felt that sense of happiness, sense of like completion, like, okay, now I can move forward. Now I've done that. Now I can move forward. Or that's how I looked at it anyways. Most people would have maybe been in fear, but I told my wife, never forget. I told her this specifically. I said, this is the best thing that could have ever happened to us.
Wow.
Hmm.
And so you moved on and you went somewhere else.
I had gone to work for a local dealer, a great company. They've been around. I'm currently with them right now. Boniface hires an amazing group, a bunch of great guys from the management down. I could never ask for a better group to work for.
Okay. So you and is it still Ford's?
It's not Ford's. I had left, and I was gonna take some time off, but I've always been a worker,
Yeah.
right? So I'm like, maybe I'll take some time. Maybe I'll take a couple weeks off. Maybe I'll take a month off. I don't know. But the next day, it seemed like I had called, and I live in a small town. Everyone knew, so I'm getting calls. Hey, where are you going? Hey, where are you going? So uh, Al and AJ had called me at that point, and they were like, well, when do you want to start? And I'm like, well, I'm not sure. They're like, you want to start today? So I'm like, I'll start tomorrow. So it happened fairly quick.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
That's incredible. And was that as a just selling cars again or
So I went from finance director, and then I went to Kia, our Kia store, and I got put back in the finance.
oh, okay.
So I had worked in finance at our Kia store for about a month, and then they moved me as a sales manager.
So you're GSM
Yep.
at that point.
No. From our Kia store, I went from finance and then I only stayed in there for about a month.
Okay.
Then I went from finance to sales manager at our Kia store. I was there for about a year or so,
Uh-huh.
and then Boniface had bought our Chevy store. So about a year after I had taken the position as the sales manager at our Kia store, they had promoted me to a GSM to open up and run our new Chevy store.
I got you. Is there a difference between a GSM and a sales manager?
Sales manager is gonna more work your deals.
Got you.
Typically just work the deals. Not really have much. They'll train. They'll work your deals.
Yeah.
Your typical sales manager, of course.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you went to GSM at the new Chevy store.
Yep.
And you've done very well.
I have done definitely well. We had taken over a store December 14th, a Chevy store that was massively underperforming. I never forget this. I remember walking in there, and I've always been a huge energy. Like I come into a place and like it's like, holy shit, this guy's here.
Yeah.
And just because I love that energy, I want people to freaking have energy.
Yeah.
I come in there and it was like a morgue. We were just talking about this yesterday. It was real. You walk in there and felt like scared. You're like, what the heck is this? You like felt uncomfortable.
Wow.
Like I didn't even want to work there, let alone buy a car there. So
wow.
One thing, and I've always been very big with goals, very big with my plan and execution. I had written down. It was funny because I had drove by the store many times to see, to examine a few things. How many people were outside? I had written down goals on how I was going to take this store to the next level. I had written down a plan, goals along with a plan, and how I was going to execute each one, what I was going to do each day, each month, and my goals for those months. So I had got there, and I told the one biggest thing that I wanted to do was change the atmosphere. It's the one biggest thing that I picked up. So I changed the atmosphere. I put on some great music. I surrounded myself around a massive amount of positivity. And that was one of the biggest things that changed us.
So, again, I want to go back to you wrote out your goals. You wrote down what you were going to do, what you were going to change, how you were going to change it, what it was going to be like. You did it in detail on a day-to-day basis, department by department, and month by month. So you literally you wrote out your future, what it was going to be for you and everybody there.
Oh yeah. The one best thing, and I'm just thinking about this now, and I'm so glad I thought about it. So when I had gone there, they were selling 50 to 60 cars a month, and I had wrote down that within 3 months we'd be selling 200 cars. And I'm telling you, every single person I told that to, they were like, it's impossible, right? They're selling 50 cars. I'm like, I'm telling you, in 3 months, we are going to sell 200 cars. I told everyone this. I told the owners. They're like, that's a good goal, but it's going to be probably pretty hard. Plan to do 200 in a year, right? And I'm like 200 in a year. I'm like in 3 months. So like I told you, I've always been very big with my goals.
Yeah.
And written my plan on how I was going to do it. And in 3 months, with my goals and execution, we hit 200 cars in 3 months.
Wow.
So, and that's 400. What is that? 400% of the business in just a matter of a couple months.
That's insane, dude. And so, I mean that I think is the one of the biggest things. Well, I'll ask your opinion. This is about you. So what do you think? And I can you believe it's already been almost an hour?
That's crazy.
It goes so fast. So what do you think the biggest thing is that holds people back from success in life? I mean, excuse me, you've worked with a lot of people, obviously. You manage a lot of people. What is it that you see stops people from achieving true success? And I don't mean just financially, but financially is a good place to start.
Sure. The biggest thing that changed my life, it'll change your life, it'll change every single person's life, is purely having a different mindset. 100% that. It's being able to not just think you can do it, but know you can do it. I mean, that's huge. Simply by thinking, just by writing your goals out, I would like to own a Ferrari or whatever you want to say, or I will own a Ferrari. It's so much more powerful saying I will versus, I'm thinking of, or just writing it. So just having that mindset of taking it from saying you think you could do something to knowing you can, or he does that because of this. By realizing that you have the same opportunity, the same capability as any person in this entire world.
So, but here's the thing, dude. You were raised in an abusive environment. You said you had all this stuff going on. You got in trouble a lot as a kid. You got booted out of college for alcohol poisoning, which that's the first time I've ever heard that. But so you've been through all this stuff. Like, dude, I mean, you have the right to be mad and upset and not achieve high levels of success, right?
Sure, I mean, I have every reason why the person didn't cut their yard across the street, but I
Right.
don't let anything impact me. You know what I mean? I can be mad at so many things. I can reflect it and see someone said something I didn't like, but I have done something. I write down. One of my goals is each and every day I don't want to surround myself around any negativity at all,
Right.
and that just it puts me to that next level, and I couldn't mean that anymore. I mean, it's so powerful to be able to just not focus on all the negative things that go on in life and just turn everything into a positive. And I do that without a doubt, hands down, each and every single day.
What about the person that's stuck? Because people get stuck. They get this mindset of, poor me. I went through this. I can't do that. I'm blah blah blah. What about that person that's stuck? What do you say to them? How do you get them out of that poor me place?
hmm that's a great question. And there are a lot of people, unfortunately, in not the best positions. However, the longer you sit in that position and think negative and let your life and your body and your mind consume all that negativity, I mean, it's gonna be a snowball effect. So I know it's a little easier said than done to say, I had lost my job and you know I had lost my job and now the world's gonna end. I didn't even say that. Like I told you guys, I was saying this is the best thing that could have ever happened to me. So the more positive energy you can bring into yourself, the better outcomes you'll have. One thing that I've changed massively is, sounds crazy, but meditation. Foreseeing the future, manifesting what you want. And that stuff is so powerful. I'm fairly new to it, but it's so, even just a few months that I've been doing it, it's life changing. Truthfully.
I know, I know. I've been doing that for a while. I love you. You called me one day and you're like, dude, I manifested a cup of coffee because I told you hey, just manifest a cup of coffee. Tell that story.
I manifest. It happened actually. I was actually just gonna text you. It happened 2 more times.
Oh my god!
It's great. I can't even make it up.
But was it happening before though? Was it like before all that? Did it ever happen?
No. And manifesting is just foreseeing something in the future that's going to happen ultimately.
Yeah.
So I had focus, and Ken was like, manifest something. See how powerful your thoughts are, the energy you give off, right? And I'm like thinking in my head, not having any knowledge of this. I'm thinking, what the what is this? Seeing the future, seeing things in the present. Like, it was so unfamiliar to me. I'm like, well, what the heck does that, like, why would I do that, right? So one day I was like, all right, you know what? Ken's a pretty smart guy. He kind of knows a lot about a lot of things. So you know what? I'll try it. So I did it. I had manifested, and he's like, just say one thing. So I'm like, someone's gonna leave me a cup of coffee on my desk. So I swear to you, this is. I'm at a loss for words. So I had manifested that someone was gonna leave a cup of coffee on my desk. So I had walked into work one day, 2 days after this had happened, and there was a coffee sitting on my desk with the straw in it. And I'm like, what the heck? This is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. Just after manifesting, and again, this has never happened to me. I never did it. I never asked anyone for it. I never gave anyone any clues.
Wow.
It just happened. It was amazing. But I texted you right away. I'm like, you'll never believe this. I texted my wife. I texted my friend. I'm like, how the heck did you know? I'm like, oh, well, you always drink coffee. I'm like, man, that's weird.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
So you know, you and I've seen you come a long way, dude, in just the few months that you and I've been talking. But you know, have you won any awards in your career?
Absolutely. In finance, I won a bunch of awards. I
Yeah.
won. I was in top one. I was in the number one place, number two place in finance. In our Kia store, we shortly after I had got there, and they were doing great before, but you know we had won the President's Award, which was very good. We had been all the top of all the sales. When I got to our Chevy store, after that, we had been the largest growth and showed up. I can't remember the quarter one. We won it in the first quarter. We had won other things, but on a personal level, I just recently won the Space Coast Business Top 40 Under 40, and what
That's
that
awesome.
was basically for all the boldest entrepreneurs, leaders around with the biggest influence on the community. That's how they came up with that. But I won the Space Coast Top 40 Under 40.
Congratulations, dude.
Thank
That's totally awesome. So like, what's next for you, man? I know you're still the GSM over there. You're killing it. You're having a lot of fun. And that is one thing that I, you know, when I talk to you about, like you have a lot of fun when
Oh yeah.
you're helping a lot of people. I mean, what's coming up for you, man?
Well, one of the biggest things with the automotive industry, and like you said, you know, you want to create that fun atmosphere. You don't want to ever dread going to work.
Right.
And that's one thing that I wrote down. I'm like, I want this place to be where people feel happy to go to, where they feel comfortable, where they're having a great time. So we've created that energy, which is nice. However, for the future, is I want to try to help as many people as possible. My goal, I see it every day, is I want to positively impact and influence 1 million people by August 6th of 2020. The significance of that is by the time that's when I'm 30. So I think about it as 1 million, but I think I set my goal too low. But the one biggest thing that people lack, and not to go back to my childhood, but people grow up with not enough confidence, and that's one thing that I want to instill in people. I want people to know that no matter what happened in their past, no matter what they're dealing with in the present, there's no reason why you can't be confident. There's no reason why you can't have the mindset of someone at the top of their game. So just bringing as much influence into people, trying to create as many leaders as possible.
Right. Love it, dude. I love
Mhm.
it. So listen, we're at the we're out of time, bro. Um,
Sounds good.
dude, you're one of my favorite people on the planet. I'm like honored to call you a friend. You're incredible, man. I mean, there's not I don't know that I'll ever meet anyone at your age that's accomplished what you've accomplished so far. I think the sky is the limit. You got so many positive things coming for you, man. It's
Absolutely,
amazing.
and I can promise you this, and I'm glad this is going to come up on my newsfeed in many years to come.
Yeah.
To think how far I've came in such a short amount of time,
Yeah.
and to think that I truly have not even scraped the surface, and I mean that, and I'm 100% confident while telling you that. You know, I'm looking forward to the future, and hopefully I can impact and influence each and every person that looks at my posts, watch my video. I hope I have some kind of positive influence on you each and every single day.
You're awesome, bro. You're awesome. To think that in 9 years, you've gone from broke, getting booted out of college for alcohol poisoning to where you are now in the high I won't disclose how much you make. I do know. But the high six figure income bracket, dude, that's amazing. Amazing.
Doing well, and again, it was strictly it was the biggest shift was having the mindset that I could do it.
Yeah.
You know, and you say at 24, you did this. However, there's people at 50 doing it. There's no reason why I can't be doing it.
That's
So,
right.
I've had that mindset that, no matter how old I am, no matter what kind of education, which is barely any, there's no person in this world that's gonna stop me from doing what I want to do.
Love it, bro. Love it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you coming on the show. It's been a
Thank you.
while. We've been talking about it, and you're on. Love
I'm
it.
on. Thank you so
You
much.
have an awesome story, and I know you have a lot of people to help in this world. So thank you to everybody who's watched this and shared it out and commented, and like, it's amazing. Justin, you rock. Everybody, make sure you go follow Justin on Facebook. And are you on Instagram as well?
Instagram and LinkedIn.
And LinkedIn. And it's just look for Justin Jarek.
Yep, just Justin Jarek. Justin Jarek.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So stay on here with me for a minute, Justin, and we will see you guys tomorrow. Thank you all so much. Have an awesome day, and we will see you later. Take care.